Hi, hello, it's nice to meet you. My name is Monika Bigaj-Kisała. I'm a teacher trainer, a director of studies, but first and foremost, I am a gamer and I am a storyteller. Now, maybe you don't identify yourself as gamers, but certainly you as well are storytellers. As Brené Brown says, we are all born storytellers. We are surrounded by stories. Ever since we are born, we hear stories, we listen to our parents going with all those lovely stories, once upon a time, there was a girl who was as naughty as you are. Do you want to know what happened to her? That's the way my parents told me stories, and they're teachers, so that explains a lot. But basically that's how we work. We listen to stories, and we still live in stories. Do you create your own stories? Exactly. Because as Terry Pratchett said, I hope you know Terry Pratchett.
Sure. Well.
Yeah. So humans need fantasy to be humans, to be the place where the falling angel meets the rising ape. And that's exactly where we are. That's exactly what we create. So from small kids who listen to stories, they create their own tales. Quite often parents interpret them as lies, but it's not necessarily a lie. It's basically the way to find the space between truth, reality, and imagination. Something that we want to have, like all those imaginary friends we've had in our childhood. Did you have imaginary friends? Do you still have imaginary friends? What happened to them? What did you do to your friends?
We were not.
Real friends never grow up. They're inside you, find them. So that's about stories. But what about games? In 1964, Eric Berne wrote a book, Games People Play. I don't know whether you're familiar with this book. It is somewhat outdated, isn't it? But it shows us the ways that we use games to create social relations, both functional and dysfunctional, that's true. But this book shows us the mechanism we use to find ourselves in the real world, in a society. So basically, what we do from the smallest age. Children play house, or they play grown-ups, right? And then they go to, I don't know, nursery school, kindergarten, they meet other friends, and they play the same game with them, right? Again, grown-ups. And the models clash, because it appears that somebody has a different family than we do. So then they enrich their own game with other role models, with other family models. And then they switch the game again to imagining their own super versions. They're superheroes. Like, how many of you have children? Who's a parent here? Okay, whose child had a phase of being a superhero, like Batman, Superman, you name it? What superhero was that? Iron Man.
Spider-Man and Captain America.
Oh, okay.
She's fine.
You're models. So what I want to do today is I want to take you on a journey. And I want to take you on the adventure. And I want to show you that playing roles and playing games, when we mix them up together into something called role-playing games. You probably know role-playing games. Who has ever heard of a role-playing game? Perfect. Who has ever played a computer role-playing game?
No, tabletop.
Tabletop. So who's played tabletop? Really? So what game did you play?
Well, I make games for my students, and I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I use other systems.
Oh yeah? So that's brilliant, because we're actually going to work on Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to give you character sheets. And I would like you... Oh, did you use them? There we go. They're smaller versions. Sure. Could you please, take some and I'm starting from you out going down. So probably everyone should have their own. There you go. That's for you. And that's for you. Okay. So, I would like you to think of a famous person. Whoever you want to think of. Do you have your cards?
No.
Who doesn't? And up again. Okay. There we go. Hello. Okay. I want you to write 3 random things about yourself, about the magical character that you've chosen, the famous character that you've chosen. And I want you to share those 3 things with your partner. That's why I asked you to work with people, okay? Just introduce. Hi, my name is. You may probably know that I do this or that, or I am like this and that. Let's say, my name is Winston Churchill. You probably know me because I like cigars. I also write books. And every newborn baby looks like me. Okay? You got him? So, talk to your partner, please. Introduce yourself. That's going to be your character for today. Okay, have you introduced yourself, Leo? It's just the beginning. I promise. You will still have an opportunity to act out your character. Worry not. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit how I came to the discovery of role-playing games as an awesome solution to all my teaching problems. I started teaching in a primary school right after my BA. That was 15 years ago. And I got a class of 6th graders. And they were adorable, really. But they were so full of themselves. They were like, we know this school better than you do. And looking back, I think, they were really a bunch of nice kids. But for me then, they were like little baby sharks. Whenever they saw my weakness, they were in for the kill. We made mistakes. Yeah, they were adorable. But I really tried. I had my course book. I was armed with a course book, a teacher's book, and a CD. And I was ready, and I was prepared to teach. And it didn't work. But I really tried, honestly. And then I looked into the mirror one day, and I'm like, what are you trying to deceive it going to work? So I decided to have fun with them instead. And what we did one day was we translated the sketch by Kabaret Potem. I don't know whether you're familiar with it. It's a short sketch, Dobra Kawa. It's extremely simple.
Classic.
Yeah, classic. And but before acting out that sketch, each student came up with a background story for their character. So instead of like just acting out for the sketch, they really had to live through the character. They came up with a childhood, with a whole family, pets, literally everything. And the best thing was that after the sketch, that's the photo that I have of them. It's not the best, quality, but yeah, my kids. They still wanted me to address them as their characters. And they said that was easier for them to identify those characters with speaking English, because they created the background stories in English, and that was far easier for them to actually use English while in character. They were 12, and that was like 15 years ago. That was before gender. So some boys played girls, some girls acted out as boys. And one boy, who was Mateusz, he played the main leading role. That's him. And he was, when I asked him on Monday, the dreaded question, so what happened at the weekend? And I was like, nothing. But then when I was like, oh, Rosita Manuela Angela del Bosco, how was your weekend? And Mateusz would fully switch into Rosita, and he would go like, Miss, that was a terrible weekend. Terrible weekend. I had a dog, and the dog was sick, and I had to take the dog to the vet. And the vet told me, this is a sick dog, we need to kill it. And I said, no, we cannot kill my dog. And the vet said, okay, I'll give him medicine then. And my dog is okay. But that was terrible. He had so much fun. He practiced English to a far greater extent than he would do it as a regular person. And we honestly and seriously had so much fun. Our relations got way better. We discovered so much fun together. And we really, really liked it. So what I would like to do now is I would like you to re-experience this. So I want you to think about your weekend. But let's say 3 things that happened during the weekend, but told from the perspective of your character. Okay? I would like you to do this now in your teams or pairs and see whether this exercise is funnier for you than talking about the weekend from a personal viewpoint, okay? Off you go. You got 2 minutes.
I
two characters were enough. Did you have fun?
Yeah. Sure.
Is it better than talking about our own personal weekend? What did you do at the weekend? Was it depressing about my work?
Because our lives are so boring.
Because you forgot about your imaginary friend.
Yeah, I did.
You deserve it.
I admit I forgot about my imaginary friend.
You need to find it, absolutely, and embrace it. Okay, so that's about role plays. I'm sure you use role plays in your classrooms, right, with your students. But what about the part of game? What do hamsters and brains have in common?
Hamsters have brains.
Hamsters have brains.
Never stop working.
Brilliant.
Reptile brain.
Sorry?
Reptile bottom brain. Which is
But-
similar.
Yeah?
Which is similar.
And, yeah. And like also a brain weighs around 1,300 grams, which is basically the weight of 7 hamsters. And pretty much like hamsters, as you said, they keep running and running and running and running. And Roy Baumeister said that we've got something like, well, our willpower is limited. And we keep using it on making decisions, resisting temptations, dealing with the routine, with everyday stuff that happens again and again and again, just like this poor hamster in your wheel, right? But what he said is that games help somewhat alleviate the pain of a brain. We can put our mind to something that is interesting. Those two guys, it's Hunter Hoffman and David Peterson. They're doctors at Harborview Burn Hospital. And they discovered that the greatest pain that patients experience is during the wound change. It hurts so much that they were traumatized by the mere thought of the wound change coming again. So they created a VR game called the Snow World. That's what it looks like. And patients basically play the game while they were having their wounds changed. And it turned out that the pain they felt was far less. They called it attention spotlight. So when we have a place where we can put our attention to, we can somehow avoid the pain and avoid the trauma. So if we can avoid the pain and trauma by playing games, we can somehow avoid the pain of education by playing games. But before we play the game, I want you to see what a role-playing game really looks like. And I'm going to use the part of a show called Big Bang Theory. Do you know this TV series? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically the thing is like the boys are playing role-playing games. The girls wanted to go to on holidays, but it didn't work out, so they're supposed to play with them.
Okay, who wants a drink?
Yep, we got Penny. We don't consume alcohol during Dungeons and Dragons, but it impairs our judgment.
Oh, this isn't alcohol. It's a magic potion that makes me like you.
Double potion, please. Okay, here we go. You find yourselves face to face with 2 hulking ogres. What are you doing in our dungeon? You shall die. Okay, literal goosebumps. Look. What do?
I draw my broadsword.
I ready my quarterstaff.
I drink my potion.
I see we attacked the big one.
You know what, give me the dice, I want to roll.
But the dungeon master's supposed to roll.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to be in Vegas throwing up on a shrimp buffet. Now give it.
or higher.
15's the point. The point is 15. Give the little lady some room. Here it is, coming out. 16! Please tell me we're playing for money.
Oh, even better than money. You gained experience points.
More potion, please.
Okay, so as you see, the cycle is very simple. First, the game master, the person who creates the story, introduces the context. The players declare their actions. Then they roll the dice to determine the result of the action, whether it's a success or fail. And again, the game master describes the consequences of the actions. Easy? The thing is, why do we need the points? Why do we need
Potion.
for the potion? Yeah.
To stay alive?
To stay alive, definitely. Think about those two characters. One player plays, let's say, Indiana Jones. The second player takes Winnie the Pooh. And let's talk casual conversation about some kind of heist, robbing the bank. Happens every day. Now, the problem is that the player who chose Winnie the Pooh has a far better linguistic skills and is able to talk through Indiana Jones, who, as a character, obviously knows far better how to rob a bank, right? So that's where we need points. When we think of a character, we decide how charismatic a character is. And in this case, Indiana Jones is far more charismatic than Winnie the Pooh, right? That's why you're going to use your character sheet. Look at the person that you've chosen and try to allocate the points. Strength, which is basically physical strength, dexterity, how fit your character is, constitution, how much he can physically take, intelligence, wisdom.
But you want us to assign points like out of how many? What do you mean?
I'll tell you in a moment. And charisma, so how good when it comes to dealing with people. You're going to get 20 points
Oh, okay.
to allocate between. Like how much damage can you take? How much drink?
Potion?
Yeah. Okay. That's for you. Constitution is how much drink you can take, or how much physical damage, how soon you get sick, ill.
Yes, character will play. I don't know. Sure. For the character created.
Decisions. Okay, you got it? Okay, so we're going to take some tests, but the idea is that you roll a die and add the number, that you roll to your skill and compare it against something called target number. So I tell you, you need to roll and the target number is 6. which means that you have to roll.
6 or more.
Yeah, exactly. Because you add the points, right? Okay, ready? Yeah?
We don't look this one actually.
No, you have to try. Okay, so let's say something like this. This is going to be simple. Can you lift the car? Now, but it's not a role-playing game. In role-playing game, you need to build a context. So, New York, 1920s. Huge fire in your flat that spreads among other flats. And it's on the street. You see the child running and hiding what? Where the child can hide?
Under a car.
Under a car. And suddenly you see that the car starts burning. You need to lift the car to get the child, because the child is so scared that the child won't leave. No, he stays there. Can you lift a car? Wait, don't roll yet. Or you're in a pub and you had a pint too many.
Oh, that's for you.
So let's say modern times, Ireland, pub. You got an important conference tomorrow, but you're in the pub and it's good. And you have your presentation, as you don't feel like it. But hey, that guy is buying you another pint. Can you resist it? Let's see. So, now what you do is basically one person in your pair tries to lift the car, the other tries to have yet another pint, but what is important, you describe what and how it happened, okay? Did you pass and fail? And describe what happened.
So we need to
You
have.
can take the same...
Are we rolling twice? We need to have more than strength.
Sorry? Yeah, for strength. First, you roll for strength. Big strength, roll more than 8.
That's more than 8 with the stuff we have on our character sheet.
Yeah. You always add the stuff to the character sheet.
So I add
Roll a die, add the number of your skill, and if it's higher, you Now, when it comes to role-playing games, that's basically what it looks like. But you may choose so many different worlds. Obviously, Dungeons and Dragons, which is absolute mainstream. Lord of the Rings. Ever wanted to go to Middle-earth? Off you go. Cthulhu, something that you probably know as English teachers. Howard Philip Lovecraft and his blasphemous stories full of unimaginable terror. Love it. Or My Little Pony. Just for some balance. Which is also adorable because it shows you that magic, the friendship, is magic. You want some future? You may play Star Wars, or you may choose Wolf Planet, which actually is a system written by real scientists, predicting the future of the world, which is quite sad. Still. Now, how can we use role-playing games in the classroom? That's important, right? We can obviously use them in individual classes.
Ready?
You bet.
Your name is Bernatrix. You are a warrior queen. You're strong, beautiful, and tall.
Ooh, I like the idea of being tall.
I think you're going to like a lot of things I have in store. For example, in this world, only the men get pregnant. So your husband is home trying not to pee when he laughs.
It's getting fun. What's next?
You're parched and weary from battle. You stand in front of a tavern that serves the coldest, most delicious ale in all the realm.
Oh, they haven't had a drink in months.
What do?
I storm in, slam my sword down and say, "Barkeep, bring me the strongest ale you have and serve it in the skull of a goblet."
He wants to see ID. The Hellprawn lunges out of the hot spring. You block it with your shield. Do you attack?
Does it have eyes?
There's 3 giant red ones and they never blink. It's unsettling.
I stab it in the middle eye.
Good choice. Critical hit. Your sword goes through its eye into its tiny brain. With its final dying gasp, it says, "You have reduced me to a pile of sushi. Enjoy me with this packet of soy sauce. It's low sodium."
Okay, I guess I should eat the Hellprawn.
Using your sword, you prepare a beautiful sushi dinner. You slip into the hot spring and enjoy the warm water on your aching joints. As you happily close your eyes, you recall the incredible evening you've had and notice that your feet and ankles are smaller than they've ever been. The end.
Yeah, well, obviously during a real game, the players are supposed to speak to a further extent than
That's
here.
Sheldon, right?
But that's Sheldon for you, yeah, that's where it goes. So individual classes and role-playing games, that's brilliant. When it comes to group class, you may either pick smaller groups, come up with a story, and engage all of the groups into solving a problem, or you may appoint a player, a student, who will come up with your story, but before you consult what the story is going to be like. So they're to rob the bank. So first they need to make the decision how they are going to rob the bank, then robbing the bank, then, I don't know, sharing the loot or something. So that they know more or less what is going to happen. I don't know whether you know Jane McGonigal. She's absolutely awesome when it comes to games. And she's proven that games not only are brilliant for entertainment, games serve brilliantly for us to create models of better selves. In games, we become the people we want to be. That's a fun thing. That's a funny thing, because if you ask people playing online games and playing role-playing game, computer role-playing games, and they have so many options to be on the good or a bad side, most of them choose a good side, because that's what I do. So she says that playing games gives you something called flow of attention, where you're so immersed in the game that your brain starts to absorb new things like, let's say, grammar or vocabulary without being tired by the routine. And the funny thing is that playing games give you the same feeling as a full session of mindfulness. So either mindfulness or basically having fun with friends.
Or a drink.
Or a drink, yeah. Well, you can play and drink. See, that's the good point. You can play role-playing games and drink, but mindfulness and drinking is not so brilliant together. So, like,
There you go.
a friend of mine teaches special educational needs kids. She has like a small group at school, and she had a kid that was autistic. She decided to introduce role-playing games for them, so she came up with a short adventure. And at first, the kid was really silent because that was the think that he didn't feel like interacting with people at all, right? And he started to communicate. And she realized that he got the hang of small talk as means to achieving the objective, which is getting the quest, doing something. So that's the idea of small talk. That's why I should communicate with people a little bit. That leads to something more. So he started at first shyly, but then more and more communicating. I'm not saying it's a cure for such issues, but maybe sometimes that may help with those kids as well. Brother Skelly, who wrote the Creative Confidence and who are sort of gods of design thinking, also referred to Jane McGonigal. They see something brilliant about her and her idea of so-called urgent optimism. Urgent optimism is something that gamers learn, because in games we have enemies, we've got challenges, and they are, even if they are out of our reach, we know that soon we'll gain enough experience points that we will definitely defeat them, right? So they try. Gamers try again and again, because they know that in reality those challenges, those enemies, are for them to be defeated. And this is something called epic win. We know that we will win, and it's worth trying again and again. By playing games, finishing them, we know that in real life we can also try again and again, and we will win. And this is something that games may teach our students, right? To give them confidence, to communicate with people, to build a team, to have faith in people that will help you in achieving your quest. But this is also something that will help us as teachers. We can also try again and again. And we can believe that we will win. And that we will have the system that we like, the schools that we want to have, and that we will teach the way we want to teach. Thank you very much. On the character sheets, you've got the link to the ebook if you want to know, and basically if you want to know more about role-playing games, you might go to my book. Thank you. You may keep the dice and the character sheets.
Wow.